So welcome to the Showcase, the City Academy podcast, which shines a light on West End trailblazers. And when it comes to Six the Musical, my next guest has survived a longer stint than most. See what I did there?
Very good.
Her association with the show goes right the way back to September 2019, when she first debuted in the show alongside some of the original cast back at the Arts Theatre. Every year since then, I believe, she's performed in the show somewhere in the world and holds the distinction of not only performing in both the West End and the touring companies, but also performing on Broadway, very much living the dream. Now she's back where she belongs as Jane Seymour in the brand new West End cast. And having only just opened a few short weeks ago, it is a real honour to have her here. And the greatest irony of this whole thing is that even though she spends half her life singing about Tudors, she's a Stewart.
Very good.
So welcome, Hana Stewart.
Hello, thank you so much. What a lovely intro.
Well, I wrote it myself. Before we get going, can I just get something out of my system? You'll know when to fill in the blank.
Right.
Divorced. Bareheaded.
Died.
You can go now.
That's it.
Sorry, I've just always wanted to do that. No, it's a genuine honour to have you here. So thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
coming in and being our guest. And I should say as well, a belated happy birthday, because I believe you turned 30 several weeks ago. You've obviously just gone back into Six.
Yes.
Did you have any milestones or any kind of bucket list moment that you wanted to tick off before you got to that age?
Oh, I don't know. I tried to not put too much pressure on it, because I think, I don't know, societally, we have this weird thing about getting to 30. I think maybe as women as well, it's like a bit of a weird. So I tried to just, enjoy it for what it is. I feel good. I feel more myself at 30 than I did at 20. So that's nice.
Well, is that,
But I didn't really consciously have any, but probably if you'd have asked me at like 16, 17, it would have been to be in the West End. So it's a nice tick.
Which you are.
Yeah.
On an ongoing basis.
Yeah.
Which leads me very well. Obviously, I gave a brief overview of your history, or her story.
Very nice.
In the iconic musical Six. Did you ever think when you went into it, obviously this is, 6 years ago? No, 6 years ago. Six.
So on brand.
Did you ever think it would play such a big part in the next 6 years of your life doing it?
No, there's no way I could have envisaged the journey that I've had with Six. It's just been mind-blowing. But as soon as I heard about the show, I was really intrigued by it. So one of my friends is really great friends with Izuka Hoyle, who was the original Pa, and she's on the soundtrack and everything. And I heard it way back then when it was in the Edinburgh days, and I loved it. But there's no way I could have imagined like where it would have taken me. So yeah, I first got the job it was my second time around for auditioning for it. So the first time I got to the finals and then didn't get it. So then when I went in again, I then was like, no, I really want this. And then it
was always meant to be.
I think so, yeah.
And you talk actually about the audition process.
Yes.
And I've heard a couple of other cast members talk about the audition process and say it was quite different because like the panel was sort of there cheering and sort of whooping, and obviously they were saying normally in an audition process it's quite almost sterile, and you go and you don't really get a reaction.
Yeah.
Is that what it was like for you when you well, I suppose you've auditioned for it several times.
Yeah. 100%. It was the best audition process I've ever had. Like, it was so friendly and welcoming, and I think just like the nature of the show and how celebratory it is, it makes so much sense. I don't know if it's the same now, but like it always used to be that you would all kind of watch each other, especially when you got to like the later stages of the audition process, which at first is absolutely terrifying. But then when I got to like the final stages, I was like, this is so perfect, because it is so much about that support on stage and like cheerleading for each other. So like it was such a lovely atmosphere to have. Everyone just wanted everyone to like do their best and have fun, and that was so special. And I think it's so nice in like an all-female presenting space for that to be the focus. So I think it's a perfect way to audition for the show, actually, really.
I mean, it's a great show as well, isn't it, in the sense that there's no kind of archetype for each role. Like every person that's played Jane Seymour, part two, has looked different, sounded different. So when you go in there, do they encourage you very much just to give it your own take?
Oh, so much. Like, they absolutely love you bringing your own like flavour to each queen, because I think that helps the audience to connect with you. If you're being authentic to you, it's just really endearing and lovely, and it's so special. Like, having been a part of the show on and off for like 6 years, then seeing how different people bring different aspects to different roles, and obviously being an alternate and then a swing, like it was quite an exciting challenge to like bring out different parts of your own personality to each of those roles that you're playing. And now that I'm just focusing on one, it's been nice to like really hone in on like who I think my Jane Seymour is, because when you're chopping and changing all the time, you do your best to like have little bits that are different between each, but it's hard to get that same like depth. So it's really nice now to just be like really focused on the one. But yeah, they're very encouraging of bringing yourself to it, which is quite daunting at first, I think.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that it must be strange for you, because having now gone back into it where you are just focusing on one role, does it feel like a less pressured kind of time for you, in the sense that, because surely before you must have just been constantly sort of throwing different lyrics around your head, different different words and all that. Is it nice just to be like, right, I'm focusing on this? It is.
It's really nice. It's really weird because I've never had that before. I've always had at least 2 characters that I'm focusing on. So it's a challenge in like a different way, because I've never had that thing in Six where I'm doing 8 shows a week every week. Like I might have had, 1 week where the person I'm covering is on holiday or they're sick or whatever, and I have to be that queen for the week. But then, the next week you might only be on for 3 shows or whatever. So that's been a different challenge in itself. But I must admit, having a bit more brain space is really nice, like outside of the job, because you're just doing the same character, the same song, every day. So yeah, it's been nice. It has been really lovely.
And I've done a bit of research on this. I might be wrong.
No, that's okay.
I think your first time going on stage in that show was an emergency situation, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
So were you midway through rehearsing for Stand By and they kind of chucked you on?
Yes.
I mean, talk us through that process, because that must have just been mad, the fact that you'd never done the show before.
Yeah, it was terrifying. But when we got brought in, it was just before a cast change, and I remember them saying to us that we're going to have a slightly longer rehearsal process so that we can get you to a point in rehearsals where if we did need you to go on, you would feel ready. So I had my like debut date penciled in. But there was always a possibility that I might have to go on before that. So it was in the back of my mind. But they were really good about it. It was very much like, there's no pressure on this.
Yeah.
Do you feel ready? If you do, great. But if you don't, that's so fine.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, well, sure. Like, let's just give it a go. Like, I've got to do my first show at some point. So it was for Jane Seymour, which feels very full circle now, coming back to play her. But yeah, I think I felt as ready as you can be until you get in front of an audience. Then that brings in a whole different element. But sometimes just doing it over and over again in a rehearsal room, you can only get like so far with it. And then you're like, no, I need an audience now. So it was scary, but I was like, no, let me just do this. And it was such a weird day as well, because I went in just for a rehearsal day on a Saturday and thought I was just going to be doing that and then going home. So I had nothing with me, like no makeup or like hair stuff or anything like that. So I was like frantically like calling like my fiance at the time, Kate. I was like, oh, can you come and bring me my stuff? Like, so he got a train up and brought me all my makeup and stuff like that, which was, it was crazy. And I was just walking aimlessly around Covent Garden like, what is happening? Like, I didn't know what to do with myself. Yeah, it was so weird.
I suppose though it is one of those things where no one knows it's your first show. No. So the pressure, yes, I suppose you put pressure on yourself, but no one in the audience is sat there being like, this is her debut.
No, so. I mean, some people, there's a massive following with Six.
Yeah.
So some of the fans were definitely like, oh my God, it's Hana Stewart. But most people who were going to see it are just going to see the show. So I think it was fine. Yeah.
Well, you're still there now. And the rest is history.
Exactly.
So, now I'm just going to do a couple of quick fire questions, just so that people can kind of get to know you a bit better. So they're the 2 that you haven't played, Cleves or Berlin?
Oh, who would I prefer to play?
Yeah.
Berlin.
Spice Girls or Girls Aloud?
Oh, Spice Girls.
Glinda or Elphaba?
Oh, the impossible question.
I know.
I would say as a character, I probably love Elphaba more, but who I would like to play more, Glinda.
Open to casting for both.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. The Arts Theatre or the Vaudeville?
Oh, I can't choose. They're both lovely in their own way. I think the Arts will always hold a special place in my heart because it was my first.
Yeah.
Let's go the Arts, yeah.
Winning an Olivier or winning a Tony?
Olivier, I've got to stay true to my roots.
A reality TV binge or a heartwarming drama?
Oh, I mean, both. I'm so greedy.
Depends what time it is,
if I needed my brain to take a break, then reality TV.
Yeah. A resplendent palace or living in a monastery?
Palace.
One day, you never know. Instagram or TikTok?
Oh, I'm showing my age, but Instagram. I do love TikTok, but Instagram.
Yeah, I've never really got the hang of TikTok.
Yeah, I'm scared of it.
Matinees or evenings?
Evenings.
And there'll be a few more days later.
Okay.
Your primary association with the show, obviously prior to this, was very much in standby roles and alternate.
Yes.
And you were there throughout, and I don't even want to say the words, but the dreaded pandemic.
I know.
But it did feel that what was brilliant about that time was it really shone a light on how vital standbys are to the success of a show and to keeping a show going. What was it like being a West End performer during that time? Because, we've already touched on, it's pressurised enough, I'm sure, as it is, juggling so many roles around your head. But especially in that time, it must have just been so full on.
Yeah. It was really scary. It was a very weird time. And we tried to reopen. We did reopen very briefly at the end of 2020. And Six and the producers and everything were amazing at really trying to make that work in whatever which way they could. We were at one point going to go, we were going to do a drive-in thing and tour around, but then all the different different areas were allowed different things like that. The tier system, do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
So then I know it's like PTSD.
I don't even know why I'm asking you about this.
No,
it's taking me back to a place.
Yeah, it was a very weird time, but honestly, that first show back was like nothing I've ever experienced. Like, it was just electric. And like you said, it being vital. I think we can, especially as performers, I think sometimes you can I definitely do this, poo-poo the importance of what you're doing. Because it's we're not saving lives, it's just we're having a really fun time. But it is so integral in in the way that the world works. I mean, how important the arts are in the world. We all do it to relax of an evening. You watch something on TV, or you listen to music, or you go to the theatre. It's so important. So seeing that coming back into people's lives after such a weird and terrifying time was really special. But in terms of being a cover, it was wild, because obviously we had all those rules about isolating and stuff. So if people got COVID and stuff, and then we had to be off for a certain amount of time. So then as the cover, you would know, okay, right now it's really important that I don't get COVID. It was really odd. And just added a whole other level to sort of the stress of being a cover, really. But it was really special, and the support was incredible. The Queendom is what they call the fans of Six, and they are amazing. They're really supportive and really lovely. So it was very special, but very scary, I would say. Yeah.
And I think, you mentioned the whole, we're not saving lives, but I think at that time, I remember thinking, things for me will be back to normal when I'm sat in a theatre and when I'm watching my favourite show.
Yeah.
And so actually, it was really important.
It was,
get back on stage, get back into theatres and all of that.
Yeah, and we were all crying. It was so special. It really highlighted the importance of the arts, I think, which was great.
And I think I think the year after that at the Olivier's, they did some sort of group performance where all of the performers were standbys from different shows, I think.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which again just felt, I think it finally felt like people in that sort of realm were finally getting the recognition.
Oh, 100%. And Six are very good at that. I think the more that the show has developed and it's how it's grown and stuff, the alternates and the swings are really celebrated, which is so lovely, because you say the West End wouldn't survive without swings and alternates, and I think it's such an important part of the industry, and I think it's really important, really. It's almost I think that everyone should be a cover of some sort before they are a leading role, because I just think it gives you a whole different level of respect for what that means. And I definitely would not be the performer I am now without having been a cover. It's 100% shaped who I am as a performer. It's amazing.
I also read somewhere whilst doing the research, I think you're the only person who has played 2 roles during one show.
I am, yes.
So when situations like that are thrown at you, I mean, have you sort of become the type of person that has just learned to cope with any situation that's thrown at you? Because surely there isn't... It can't get much more intense than that, surely.
No, sometimes I think back to that show and I do think, how did I do that? That was mad. But I suppose you are kind of ready for anything in a sense, being a swing or an alternate. But that was a particularly wild day. I was quite used to doing 2 roles in a day. Like that isn't unusual for Six, I think, especially because I don't know if you know, we have like a 9-show schedule. So we always get 1 show scheduled off each week.
Yeah.
So sometimes it would happen that someone would have their show off, and then it would mean that everyone kind of had to jiggle around because of illness or whatever, and then you'd be doing 2 parts in a day. So I'd been used to that.
Yeah.
That was just... this was just kind of that times 10. But I don't know, it was all right. The only thing that was a bit weird is Seymour used to have a beehive then in her hair. So I'd started as Seymour and then we literally quickly changed, and I'd had this weird like hybrid of like a side low ponytail but with a beehive. It was really weird. But
how do they even communicate that to you? Because surely, because it is one of the shows you're all on for basically the whole show.
Yeah.
How were you even told you need to quickly...
I can't remember. I think usually if anything like that happens, someone of stage management team will hold a sign up at the side of the stage.
Oh, I see.
But it's not always possible because it's so fast paced. Depending on what the number is that you're in, you might not see it.
Yeah.
But basically the stage manager will come on stage and just do an announcement. Our stage manager then, James, came on and said, we're going to have to take a pause and have a bit of a rejig. Like, please bear with us. Like, and then Liv... came on, it was her West End debut, so bless her heart, halfway through the show, she was amazing, came on as Jane Seymour, and then I switched into Pa, so it was like a whole thing. Yeah, it was wild.
Oh, so it was one of those situations basically where the person going into Seymour knew the Seymour track, but obviously, I see, God.
I know, it was, what a day. But yeah, she was incredible.
You said, obviously, that you think everyone should be in a standby role at some point.
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think, because obviously a lot of people watching this are probably people that do dream of performing or are training to perform and all that. What do you think are the key attributes a performer needs to be a standby?
I think you have to be adaptable. I think you have to be really patient with yourself, which is something that I definitely found challenging at times, because I think as performers we can put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect, and it's not physically possible to be perfect every single show, whether you're playing one role or you're covering all 6, whatever. It's a really fast-paced show, and you're only human, like things are gonna go wrong. So I think learning to be kind of, obviously you want to do a good job, but like being okay with the fact that it will not be your best show every single time. And I think that's one of the things that's helped me just in performing, to just kind of take a little bit of that pressure off, because you literally make yourself ill, like trying to be like the absolute best every time. And I just think like it taught me so much respect for like the craft, which I know sounds really like, but for other swings and alternates, just like how they really keep the industry going. And it is such a skill to be able to split your brain into like those different things. And I think when I was at drama school, if you just said to me, one of your first jobs you're going to be covering like 4 roles in the West End, I would have literally been like, I can't do that. So I think it's good for you mentally to just be like, no, I can't. Like, it's a real challenge, and like it was really I don't know, really satisfying, and like I felt really proud of myself when I actually did do it. So I just think it's really good for like a grounding and like a knowledge of the industry as a whole, really. Yeah.
And you obviously, the first time you signed off was 2021?
Yes.
When you left the car. And I was actually there at that performance.
Oh,
That's
were
when
you?
All came out at the end,
yes.
Which was just, and I think because that was quite soon after COVID, wasn't it? So that was just beyond emotional.
I know, we were crying.
In your head at that point, did you think, I'm probably finished with this show? Or did you think...
No, I did. I thought I was done.
Really?
Well, you just don't know as well. Like, that was the end of my contract. So, I thought that was going to be me. Like... And I was leaving, I think it was early November 2021, and I was getting married later that month. And then I was going on my honeymoon, and I was like really excited after such a weird period of COVID and everything, of just like being a human for a bit, and like not necessarily going straight into another performing job. And then obviously between Christmas and New Year of that year, I then got the call re-Broadway. So,
which actually leads me neatly onto my next question. Not seen the questions in advance. Obviously, Broadway, which you just say the word Broadway.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, what was that? What was it like, even being told, right, you're going to Broadway to play that part?
Just crazy. Like, I was like, what? How?
Yeah.
That was never on my bingo card for 2021 or life, really. I never even let my brain go there. Like, genuinely, Six was one of my biggest like show that I've ever done, and I was so grateful to be a part of it in the West End, and the thought of doing it in America just like was mind blowing. I just couldn't get my head around it. But obviously I jumped at the chance. It was incredible.
And it must be one of those things where no matter what you do in the rest of your career, you can say,
I was on Broadway.
I played on Broadway. And not just in any show, in Six.
I know. It was crazy, yeah. I mean, it was a weird time as well, like from finding out or getting the call. That was, I think December time. And then I didn't go until like March, I think.
Yeah.
So like that was weird, that like first few months being, because that obviously was still quite soon after the pandemic, and like America's restrictions were quite different to here, and it was like, how am I going to be able to work there, like visas and all that sort of stuff, and there was a lot that went into it. So it was like, we really want to get you out there as soon as possible, but like we just have to keep you posted on dates. I was like, okay. So it was so weird, but amazing.
Something as well that Kerry Ellis said, because obviously having played Elphaba on West End and Broadway, was she noticed there were loads of differences, particularly in terms of sort of how certain dialogue was received, or there might be a bit in the UK show that everyone found hilarious that got no reaction, and then vice versa. Yeah. Were there any like real differences that you noticed between?
I mean, just generally, American audiences were so much louder.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if they like something, they're going to tell you. Like, whereas I think we can be quite reserved here.
Yeah.
We're very like, we sit and we applaud, but like there, if they love it, you'll know. Like they'll really be like whooping and cheering, which was lovely. But there are a few slight differences in the script as well over in America. Like no one would say mate over there and stuff like that. So that was weird. And like Howard, I think, says I'm really hot instead of like I'm really fit. So stuff like that. But I think humour is quite different. I think British humour is quite a specific style, I would say. So,
and particularly with that show, it is so kind of...
It's very British.
Yeah.
Just like different things. It was so nice again to see how like the queens over there played it differently and like to tailor to their audience. It was really fascinating and like very impressive actually to take a script that is quite British in nature and then make it work for an American audience. But I loved it. It was weird. I had to, with the accent thing, at first I was like, they're going to make me do an American accent, like, because that singing songs, even in terms of like technical things like vowel placement and stuff like that, I was like, I've sung these songs in my own Essex accent for like years. Please don't make me do it different. But luckily I got to keep my own accent for my solo songs, but then obviously all the ensemble stuff, so that I didn't sound different, had to be American.
Oh, I see. So you were having to constantly make that transition.
So that was wild. But that's the same here though. Like when we're all singing together, we all have sort of a generic, I suppose, southern, not RP, but like a southern
Middle
accent.
England,
So if you have any like Scottish people or whatever in the cast, then they have to do the same here. So it's not really that different to that. But because I'd sung it one way for so long, it was really
of course,
But it was fun.
And did you find any aspect of being on Broadway? Because I assume you went there on your own.
Yeah.
Is there any part of it that's quite lonely? Because I think, again, everyone would think, oh, you're living the dream, which I'm sure you are to a degree. But there must be aspects of it that are quite hard personally.
Yeah, definitely. I'd never flown by myself anywhere. So that was like a whole thing. And it's not just like popping over to Spain. Like it was quite far. I was a bit like, oh. But it's funny you say that actually, because I obviously loved it and I had the best time, and I was at the theatre every day, so that was great. And often there was a lot of their alternates were like obviously not on stage, so like we would catch up and like have chats and stuff, which was lovely. But I was staying in Manhattan, which was incredible, don't get me wrong, but all the other queens in the company, like they all lived in New York, but like much further spread out. It would be like living in Covent Garden here. Like it's not usually what people do. So in that sense, that was quite lonely at times. And you know, a lot of the main cast were doing their 8 shows a week, so they're not going to want to be going and sightseeing and stuff, you know what I mean? So there were some things that we did together, like we went for brunch a couple of times, and like when I joined, they were having a slight cast change, so like there were a few like cast drinks and things like that, which was so lovely. But generally, the daytimes, unless there was a matinee, I was like, So, yeah.
Just go for a wander in Times Square.
Which I did. I just kind of did things by myself, and luckily a couple of friends of mine one was working over there, my friend Twain, and then another friend from home, Declan, he was there on holiday, so like I met up with a couple of people, and then my family came out and my husband came out, so like there were times where I was with them, but there were times where I was a little bit lonely, but I just tried to like lean into it. I was like, when else am I ever going to have this experience? Like walking around the streets of New York, I've been there once before in my life on holiday, but just walking around and I was like, I'm working here? Like, what? It was just crazy. So I did do lots of stuff I went for dinner by myself. It was quite nice.
Yeah. It's actually the only place I've ever been to on my own, because I feel like there's so much to do there. It doesn't really matter.
You can't get bored there.
Yeah.
I saw lots of theatre.
Yeah.
Which was great. By myself.
Well, you know. But again, it's that milestone, isn't it, where like I say, you can always say, I've done Broadway.
Yeah, exactly.
And on that theme as well, now that you've done Broadway, do you have a desire, would you ever want to do it long term, or do you feel a bit like, I've done it?
No. Oh my God, no, I would love to go back.
Yeah.
And while I was over there, I was lucky enough to get an American agent, which was not the plan.
Yeah.
But just kind of happened really beautifully, and I'm still with him now, my agent John, and we talk about the prospect of that, and I would absolutely love to. Obviously it's more difficult when you're from the UK with like visas and stuff like that, but never say never. I would absolutely love to.
Watch this space.
Who knows?
You did also mention you're obviously married as well. And I asked Kerry Ellis something similar about the sacrifice that comes with a career like this, because it must be really hard, well, again, just to have a personal life, but when you're doing a show, 8 shows a week, what have you, like, how do you even find time, to spend time together and all of that sort of thing? Because you must have to end up with someone who's fairly understanding in terms of the unsociable hours that go with it.
Yes. Oh my gosh, my husband Kane is literally amazing. Like, if the shoe was on the other foot, I'm not sure I could do it, be with someone whose schedule is so unsociable hour wise. But he did theatre as a kid. He was a West End kid. Did all the children's shows, Oliver, Chitty, all that, and his dad was a dancer, so he very much has an understanding of the industry, which is like amazing, but he's not an actor, which is lovely. But it is hard. I think like it depends a lot on when your day off is as well. Like with 6 our day off's a Monday, which isn't great, but we always make time on that Monday evening when he's finished his like 9 to 5 job to just be together and like actually talk and like catch up about the week and stuff, and like, obviously FaceTime and voice notes and all stuff like that are amazing. Like even on my way in here today, I was sending him like little videos and stuff. So and also with the 9 show schedule at 6, that is a really lovely addition, because it can mean like this week, for example, my show off was a Thursday matinee, so that didn't make much difference to our schedule as a couple. But next week it's Friday, so we only have 1 show on a Friday, so that means I have my whole day and then we can have an evening together. So that really helps.
Course.
But I don't know. I think it's just like, it's all about communication, isn't it, really? And he luckily works from home, so like we often will have like a lunch break together.
Oh, that's not
really nice, which hasn't always been the case. Like when I was first in 6, he was working in Cambridge and we live in Essex, so like that was weird, because then he was getting home really late. So I think it's just you just do what you can, but it is definitely a part of the industry that I never, silly really, but I never really gave that much thought until then. I was in a show like 6, it was like long running, and I was like, oh, we never see each other. So it's definitely something that you have to sort of work. I
suppose in some ways it must almost be harder if you say you're a single person and then you're trying to find time to date, because that must just be impossible.
I don't know how people do it, but no, I'm very lucky, and he's very understanding, and he loves theatre as well, which I think helps. But it's rough out there.
But happy, that's amazing.
I am happy,
and obviously the show it's really unique, and we were saying just before we went on, there's only certain types of show that come with such a kind of dedicated fan base. This is one. Shows like Wicked as well, I think, and Juliet had it a bit. Does that bring with it a pressure? Like, you were off, for example, last week for a week.
Yes.
Or close to a week.
A week.
Do you ever sort of does it make you feel guilty ever when you think, oh, am I letting someone down or anything like that? What sort of pressure does it carry?
It can be really debilitating. Well, couldn't say that, debilitating. Because I think when you care so much about a show and when its fan base are so supportive, like the one that Six have, it is you can really like beat yourself up about it. But I was saying to you before, like you have to be okay with the fact that you are human. You're gonna get sick. You deserve a holiday. You know, that sort of thing. And we've talked about this a lot. I know that she wouldn't mind me saying this, but like Hannah Lowther was in the cast with me when I joined a little bit last year, and I know she really struggled with this fit just because she cares so much about people who are coming to support. But you have to like draw a line with that and know that if you're poorly, you're poorly. Like you can't, and you don't want to prolong anything or also infect anyone else. If you know you're working in such close quarters with other people, it's important to take the time that you need, and even just in terms of like vocal health and stuff like that, it's important that you don't push through. So it's hard, but mostly the Queendom are really lovely and really supportive, and I think like the more that the show goes on and like the different casts that come in and stuff and like the people are kind of saying the same things, that now I think the message is kind of getting through a bit more and people are a lot more understanding of that because it is such a small cast. You can be like, oh, I really want to go to see this performer, and it's hard. It's really hard, and it's lovely because they're supporting you.
But I think what is good about it, like you said earlier, is the fact that because they do put so much emphasis on the standbys and things like that, actually, I'm sure some people are going to see individual performers, but you know, you don't feel like, oh, I'm getting an understudy or anything like that. It really doesn't feel like that. You just feel like you're getting an added bonus.
Yes, the team, SWAT team, we call them, Swings and Alternates at Six, are incredible, and the support for them has always been brilliant. Like when I was an alternate, the support was so lovely, and I think that Six are really good at celebrating their swings and alternates, which I think then makes a big difference with like the following and stuff. But definitely personally, you put pressure on yourself, of course you do. But you just have to be like, no, you know, I'm human.
Exactly. You've obviously only just gone back to the show, so it must be hard to look too far ahead into the future. But have you got any other musicals which are, you know, on the to-do list, or I must be in this at some point? Or is it difficult to see beyond the world of Six at the moment?
Yeah, it is. Cool. It's really all-consuming when you're in a show. And I try really hard because I have, you know, I've been out of work between contracts and stuff. It's really important, I think, to just enjoy the contract that you're in for what it is, and because it often happens as a contract's coming to an end, you start to feel the fear like creep in of like, what's next? And you're going to be out of work. So it's like really trying to just be present and like live in that moment. But anyone who's followed me for a while will know that my favourite musical of all time is Billy Elliot the Musical. And people always, I know that's always the reaction. I love that show so much. And I would love to be... I don't know if the track is still the same, and obviously it's not playing at the moment, this show, but I love it. If it ever comes back, I really want to be in it. But it used to be, I think, that the track was the ensemble. You had an ensemble track, which was the woman with the co-op bag.
Oh, this does ring a bell.
Okay. People always think I'm joking. I'm deadly serious. And I think she was maybe like Tony's girlfriend or something. I can't remember. But then she used to cover Billy's mum.
Oh, I see.
So, because I think that Billy Elliot the Musical, the ensemble is one of the most impressive parts of that show, and I would want to be a part of that. So that for me is like a dream track.
Oh, wow.
I know, quite niche.
Yes.
But
working on the Geordie.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I probably need to work. But I would absolutely love to do that. And also, I am obsessed with Hadestown.
Oh, interesting. Which is another show, actually, when you just mentioned the ensemble. I think that show is so centred around the ensemble.
Yeah.
I was so impressed with everything that they do in that.
Me too. I saw it when I was in New York with Eva. Oh my God. Yeah. Just incredible. And I just found it so moving. And the music is stunning, and the whole, I love a dark musical that's quite, like, something that's quite... gritty and like, I just think Hadestown is stunning. Like everything about it, I just love. So Hadestown's definitely on the list.
And Woman with Co-op Bag.
Woman with Co-op Bag.
So let's manifest for that now.
So random.
I could really imagine you in Maiden Dagenham
Oh,
as well.
yeah, it's the accent.
Well, yeah.
I did love that show, you know. I saw it a lot when it was on.
Yeah.
I was
I'm
at drama
surprised
school
that
at the time.
didn't last longer, but
It was great. Yeah.
One day.
One day.
And just to sort of wrap it up as
Yeah.
well, you'll see what I've done here.
Okay.
But can you tell me the 6 things that you love most about being a performer?
Oh, okay. Yes. Oh, 6. Okay. There's loads. I think bringing your own, like putting your own spin on a character. I love that. A rehearsal process. I know that's probably quite a wild card.
Yeah.
I love a rehearsal process. It's really tiring, but I love that journey from like day one to then tech and opening. I find it really satisfying, and I think that's where you do a lot of your bonding as a cast.
I was going to say, that, and particularly on a show so reliant on chemistry, that must be where you really
100%.
kind of mesh.
Yeah, and we had a lovely time in our rehearsals. Like, it was really, you know, everyone was really committed to like getting to know each other, which is like makes a world of difference. And I think we, like, on a Saturday we'd go to the pub and like have a nice end of week drink, and that was really lovely. I would say the camaraderie in a building, so like everyone, like crew, you know, sound, costume, wardrobe, wigs, hair, makeup, like everyone becoming such a team and such a unit. And 6 is so good at that. I think the Vaudevilles, because it's not a massive theatre either, but we do have a green room, so that's lovely. So and it's quite a decent size, so we all do actually sit in there and all chat, like not just cast but like everyone, which is really lovely. Again, because it's a small show,
of course,
I think it's nice that everyone mingles. Being, I would say, swings and alternates, like seeing their debuts and like what they bring to each character, like having that kind of like change in energy on stage is really fun. Because you get into your own kind of groove, but then when someone else comes in and then brings a different energy, you're like, ooh, that's new. Like, that's really fun. That's 4. 5. I would say being able to have a lie-in.
Oh yeah, true. You never think about that.
With your schedule. So I've done many random muggle jobs, you know, non-performing jobs. Most of them involved getting up quite early. And I really enjoy not having to do that.
I do apologise because your call time today was 11:30, so you must have had to.
No, it's fine. Don't be silly. That's fine. And then 6. I can't even remember what I've said now. Was it my 6 favourite things about being in 6?
Being a performer.
Being a performer. Just sharing your love for what you do. I think like we can often forget, because it's like sometimes quite a struggle, you know, like auditioning, and it can feel like a bit of a grind, and we forget sometimes that we do it because we love it. Like I love performing so much, and that is really what it's all about. And I think sometimes the other stuff can weigh quite heavy, that you forget how important the actual performing bit is. And you're doing it because you really enjoy it, and it is such a joy to, especially with a show like 6 where the message is so positive and strong, like to share that with a new audience every night is so special. Yeah, there are probably loads more, but yeah.
And to anyone who hasn't seen 6, what would you say? What would be your sort of one kind of USP why you have to go and see that show?
Oh my gosh, I would just say it's so celebratory. Like it's so joyful, and there's so much doom and gloom in the world, and I think it has a really important message, but it is just so fun. Like it's such a joyful piece of theatre, and seeing you know the joy that you bring to people is just so special. I think if you come and see it, you won't regret it. It can sound like quite a random concept at first. You know, it's a pop concert, but it's about the Tudors. It's like, what? But it works. Like, it's so brilliant. If you see it, I don't think you'll regret it. It's brilliant.
I can vouch for that. It definitely is. Well, thank you so much for coming in and speaking to us. It has been absolutely fantastic. You are one of a kind, no category.
Thank you.
See what I've done there. And hopefully we'll have you back when you're playing Women with Co-op Bag. And you can come and tell us all about that and fulfilling dreams and all that.
Thank you so much.
But thank you very much. And obviously best of luck for the run with the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to Hana Stewart for being our first guest. And of course, you can still catch Hana at 6 at the Vaudeville Theatre. And I really don't think that show is going anywhere anytime soon. And we will, of course, be back in 2 weeks' time with Hamilton star Jay Perry. Very much looking forward to that one. And be sure to follow at City Academy UK on our Instagram feed for all of the latest news and updates. I will see you very soon.